Oh, how much better is winning? The helmet game was massive. North's massive. This is a big one.
Richmond is picked up by Archer again. He tries to crash through the pack. He does. He got through Maxwell, and he has a flying shot at the goal. And then it's a magnificent Glenn Archer goal. 2 in a minute to the man who's the shin bone of the season.
Everything is fine.
Everything's great. What are you talking about? The gang's back together. We've just won our 3rd game for the season. Vibes are high.
It's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games. I don't know. I'm getting like a bit motion sickness from 17th on the ladder. So.
Wow, yes, yeah. Well, if the Eagles actually lost, we could have possibly gone ahead.
We'll grab them next week. It's fine. It's
That
all
is
good,
true.
guys. Welcome back to another episode of
Yeah.
the North. We haven't seen each other for a while, Josh.
In person, yeah, I'm weird right now, Marnie. I'm like, oh my God, there's not just me on a Zoom, bad audio quality.
I know.
We're back.
We've done a couple weeks of long distance. I was laid out last week, but we're back together. And what a better day to be back together than to talk about our win
Whoa,
over Richmond yesterday.
it's unbelievable. And what was bigger, Marnie, the win or the Tristan Jerry helmet game?
Honestly, I don't think you can split the two.
You can't split the two.
That was an absolutely incredible way to kick off the game yesterday.
Oh, it was so much fun. So many people turned up in helmets. The club was good enough to give us a bunch of cardboard helmets. Thank you to Steeden as well for giving us 20 free Tristan Jerry quality helmets to give out at the game. The bay was massive. We got more photos to post. Tristan came and got a photo with everybody after. I'd say helmet game was a great success. Everyone got around it and everybody loved it.
I agree. Thank you so much to everyone who did get involved, who came down to the bay, who wore their helmets around the ground. It was pretty awesome to see, Josh's, what started as a really small idea from Josh turn into this monster takeover at Marvel yesterday. So again, thank you everyone who did get involved. I think it just made the win even sweeter.
It did. Absolutely. There's some great photos of everybody in the bay, which we can post. All the Coastal Flag admins. Thank you to Liam for squeezing in his helmet with that big head of his. and we got to celebrate a win in the helmets. Had people in the bay come up to me and say, we're 100% win record with helmets on at the game.
I think that's our tactic moving forward.
I think
for the rest
it's
of the
helmet
season.
week every week.
Yeah. It's either helmet week or my birthday. I'll take either.
Yeah. Every day's your birthday, Marnie, it feels like. So
That's true. That
is
is very true.
But no, helmet game was a great success. Thank you to Tristan. Thank you for everybody who got involved. Side note as well, after the game, we'll talk about the game in 1 second. I met Glenn Archer at the game. Lots of people did. Lots of people got photos with him. But I rocked up and found Marnie and the Close to a Flag boys outside the ground. And I got there a little bit late because the train was a bit late. And they go, we just interviewed Glenn Archer. And I instantly got incredibly upset. My face dropped. I was like, what?
Literally, I thought that I had just told him that like his dog had died or something.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh no, you told me something way worse.
The distraught on your face was just, I can't get that out of my mind.
That's my idol. Glenn Archer was my favourite player ever, is my favourite player ever. And I was walking out of the game to go and find Marnie again, and I saw a big group of people and I was like, oh my God, it's Glenn Archer. So I waited around and I had to push a couple of kids out of the way, don't argue them, and I got in and got a photo with Glenn Archer and I giggled like a little girl.
What a way to top off an incredible day.
I genuinely, this is actually very wholesome. I walked away and I was like, oh my God. And I called my dad straight away and I said, Dad, I got a photo with Glenn Archer. Because he knows how much I like Glenn Archer.
Was he so stoked for you?
He was stoked.
Shout out Tony, Josh's dad. What a guy.
Yeah, the biggest North fan in Tasmania, some say.
Love that for him.
Yeah.
I wonder where he gets it from.
Don't know. Wouldn't know anyone else in the family who follows him. Anyway, we won a game.
Let's crack on with it. We beat Richmond yesterday 14-6, 90 to 10-17, 77. Bad kicking really is bad football. That was the theme of my day yesterday. It worked in my favour at Marvel. Worked against my favour.
Worked in my favour at the MCG later on.
Worked against my favour at the MCG later on, but we're not here to talk about that. No. Wow. Just it was a bit of a slog. Like it was a bit
gross. It was
game.
a classic spoon bowl.
It wasn't quite the same, and I don't know, like I don't want to sound arrogant because we've won 2 games in the last month, but it wasn't quite the same as the Suns game. I don't feel
it was grittier, but it was 2 teams like on the same level, and I think both teams performed pretty well. You know what I mean? Like, I think if Richmond play like that in other games like they did the week before, they go, oh, yeah, they're at least competing or challenging.
Yeah.
And I think it was the same with us as well. Like, our first quarter was poor, and then we sort of got better and better and better as the game went on. I don't think any of the teams played bad.
Yeah.
I think the Suns played really bad, but we can see what they do away from home.
Yeah.
And we just got the job done. I mean, this is our biggest win of the season. So
I would say so, yeah.
Oh, no, it is. I can confirm.
Yeah, well, no.
It
but
definitely is.
Yes, score-wise, but
Yeah.
also I think like
Oh, you're talking like gravitas of the game.
Well, I just feel like this is the first time where we've probably gone into a game. We weren't favourites in terms of like the betting odds leading into the game.
Weren't we? We were when I checked.
No, we weren't
Did
when
it swing
I
late?
checked. I think after Thursday night with because we had quite a few like big outs, but when you kind of look at the side going into the game, it wasn't too different from what we'd presented for most of the season on the park. And I just kind of felt like it was the first time when maybe the betting odds were sort of bouncing around to and from, but there wasn't much of a difference between them anyway.
When I checked, it was like $1.80 to $2.05 or something like that.
Yeah, so it
and
wasn't
we were
really much. And I betting odds aside, because no one needs to gamble to make the game enjoyable.
Wow. Gamble responsibly, not
If you
sponsored by
do.
Sportsbet.
But I think it's the first time we've probably gone in. I can't remember the last time we would have gone into a game like legitimate favourites. And I think for us,
Probably West Coast round one last year.
Yeah, we're so used to being the team that's hunting rather than the hunted. So for us to kind of stand up, and Richmond's pressure early was great, and
Unreal.
they kind of, they made it into a bit of a slog. And then for us to sort of be able to break away in the second half, particularly in the last quarter, and really just sort of flex our muscles and bring home the 4 points, I think was really, it was a win of resilience, and it was really a win of us just really stamping our mark. I mean, like, no, we're on the rise here. Like, we're genuinely on the rise. Yeah,
100%. I agree. Like, the first quarter was very sloppy. And it was the whole game. Well, like I said before, classic spoon bowl. Two teams at the bottom of the ladder for a reason. I don't think West Coast is much better than any of us. I think we're probably better than West Coast right now personally. But we're in better form anyway. I guess that'll be proven or not next week.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The bottom three is so clearly bottom three in the league. And yes, everyone's competitive, even Richmond on their day.
Yeah.
But the bottom three is so far and away the bottom three.
Well, there's like 2 or 3 games between 15th and 16th
Oh, it's
now.
more. It's like 12 points for the Eagles or something, or maybe it's I guess it'd be more now to be 16 points, and then it's like 30 something for the Crows next. I'm pretty sure.
So there's a big gap.
It's like 3 or 4 game difference. So it was grubby early. A lot of stoppages and a lot of. The thing I was disappointed about in the first quarter. So it's the morning right now, guys. We didn't get on top in clearance very early at all.
No.
And Richmond came out and really got out of the middle a lot better. They actually won clearance for the day. I think I've got the clearance stats. 39-33.
Yep.
We won the hit outs, but I found that the Richmond midfield, especially early, was finding it really easy to maybe read the taps from Tristan.
Yeah.
And they broke away out of the middle. Which got them ahead very, very quickly. And I was very scared in the first quarter. And we've been there before. It's a lot of Vietnam-style flashbacks. But I've seen this before. This doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
We were sitting there in the bay like, oh, no, this isn't how we want to start. So we got a strobe light. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. The light just flickered on and off. We rectified that, obviously, as the game went on. And I think in the second, we really started to... Like you said to me in the bay, like we're finally building ourselves. It took a quarter and a half. We finally built ourselves into this game. And I think when it got to about halfway through the second, I think we were the better team the rest of the day. The Tigers did get it back in front, and it was an arm wrestle until late in the third. But I don't know. I felt a lot more comfortable that we would remain in the game sort of halfway through that second, because before that, nervous.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think Richmond would have gone into this game the same way we did, and that this would be winnable. I don't think they would have they wouldn't have come into this thinking, oh, we're no chance.
Absolutely,
and their fight was great. But I guess really in the second half is where the game was won. We were able, and I think that's another really good sign of maturity and growth is we definitely were challenged for most of the first half.
Absolutely.
And Richmond missed a lot of shots on goal.
yeah.
Like had they been more accurate, the game probably would have taken a different turn, right? But bad kicking is bad football.
Well, there's the next stat I've got is 60 to 44 inside 50s for the game, which is an absolute belting.
Yeah.
And the fact that, they they had so many opportunities. How many points did they kick in the end?
17.
17.
10 goals, 17.
That's wild. And I've praised North even through this whole bad period of our history that our goal kicking's always been pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you got a guy like Nick Larkey up front, but 6 points, 14 goals, 6 is well, I'd say well above average in accuracy in the AFL.
Yeah,
I'd
we
like to
have
see the
definitely
accuracy
been
stats.
accurate.
Yeah, 10 goals, 17. I mean, look, I don't want to be negative and we'll get this out of the way early, but if on a different day against a better team, I think, conceding that many inside 50s is very, very concerning.
It's bound to sort of break down.
Yeah, I mean, we conceded
eventually.
20 inside 50s in the first quarter.
Yeah. But
Which-
then flip it, right? Because they did miss a lot of shots on goal. And for us to be able to, again, weather the storm and be able to hold firm and hold our own when we were challenged, and for there just to be 1 point between the two sides going into halftime.
Yeah.
Now, again, you're right. On a different day or against a better side, I mean, that's a 5 to 6 goal margin going into halftime, right? And it's probably game over from there. But again, we are obviously in the bottom 3 for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think for us in the context of this game and the way this game played out, I think it's a really mature response.
I agree.
And for us to, be able to hold our own, I think was outstanding. And then the way we responded in the second half, the way we came out and we knew, like, there's no mucking around here. Like, this is our game to be won, and we won it.
I felt like watching the game, and obviously I'm not in the locker room or in the huddle, but I didn't feel nervous that and this is a different feeling for me, knowing me. I didn't feel nervous that we would lose it. Like, or lose it. If we did, it'd be close. We'd fight. I didn't ever think, even watching that game at all, there's gonna be a period where they're gonna kick 3 or 4 goals and they're gonna do what they have to do. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna turn this light off because this is
sorry guys, it's party time in here.
I apologize. I wasn't that nervous at all that we'd get blown out at all in this game, and I think that's a really good sign of maturity because I feel like the team now, after the form since the bye, is going, no, we know we're better.
Yeah.
We know we can do this.
Yeah.
Just stick to what we do and don't play down to your opposition.
Yeah, and it's nice that when expectation was placed on us to perform, we were able to step up and perform, which, again, like I touched on before, it's not something we've really had. It's probably the first time we've seen us do it all season.
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to rise to the challenge, I think that's for me, looking future planning now, it's a huge sign, and it kind of says to me, well, we are genuinely on the right track here.
Well, you look at the last stat I've got here to sort of throw out is obviously we conceded all of those inside 50s, but then we were plus 7 points in the second and plus 19 in the third.
Yeah.
So we came back in the second and outscored them, and then outscored them a lot more in the third as well, and continued that into the fourth. So, even though we did start bad, we rectified that halfway through the second, and then we went, okay, we're getting on top here. We're finally getting our game back. The pressure lifted on our end because the TIGS pressure from the first bounce was a lot more than ours.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's good that we can shift momentum in games now because that is a sign of maturity.
At what point in that game did you sit there and think, we've won this? Because I felt it before the final siren. The West Coast game, I was on edge up until the end. And
Gold
the
Coast
Gold
was the
Coast game,
same.
I was on the edge of my seat till the end. But I think this was a bit different.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was probably like 2 or 3 minutes left in the fourth. It wasn't before that. Honestly, I could feel. I did have little thoughts inside my head that I was like, I think we're going to be okay.
And you
here.
felt guilty?
I felt awful. Yeah, I felt awful.
I know how your brain works way too well.
Yeah, I'm like,
that
no.
wouldn't have sat well with you.
No, someone who was sitting next to me said, I think we've got this, like at the start of the fourth. And I turned to him and said, you need to stop, young man.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some
enough,
things.
yeah.
Were you there against Collingwood? We went in with a 6-goal lead against the Eagles into the last quarter, and look what happened. Have you not watched this team?
Have you not learned anything over the last 5 years?
Yeah, if we lose,
Come
it's
on.
your fault. So, no, look, and that was maybe with like 5 to 10, between 5 and 10 minutes to go. I was sort of going like, I kind of feel okay here, but one more goal would be great. And then we sort of got the lead, we kicked another goal, and I'm like, this should be okay.
Yeah.
It will be. It's never
until the
going to
final
be
siren
okay
with North.
but it should be okay. And one of the admins in the bay turns to me with a few minutes to go and goes, we can just chill for a couple of minutes. Just as wild.
I don't know this feeling.
No, it's very, very foreign. But hey, we got the job done. The final siren went.
It was
and
unbelievable.
I got to sing the song 2 weeks in a row. Well, 2 games in a row that I've attended. I'm on a win streak, Marnie, for games.
It's all you, Josh.
Yeah, I can't. I posted up on the Instagram story a video of me celebrating the win, and at the end I said, "I only go to wins now," and which is accurate.
Honestly,
yeah. I'm getting a big head.
Yeah, that's why you need the helmet to like keep yourself under control. Can I just okay? Talking of PTSD before we like actually talk about the players and stuff like that. I think it was the third quarter, and Will Phillips and Jai Simpkin were. Hold on, let me start again.
You got it.
The third quarter, I believe it was the third quarter. Jai Simpkin put pressure on his opponent close to the boundary line, and he forced a deliberate out of bounds. And then that passage of play happened, and before North took the free kick, Simpkin was subbed off for Phillips.
Okay.
The umpire comes back to this happened just right by the bench, and I was sitting by the bench at this point, right? And the umpire comes over to the bench and says, no, it's Jai Simpkin's ball, and made Will Phillips go back off the field and Jai back on the field to take the kick. My first thought was, has that ever happened before? Because I don't think it's ever happened before.
Not that I've
never
seen
that.
No.
Second of all, I just got major PTSD and flashbacks to that Sydney game last year, an interchange game, and I thought, is that an interchange or not?
Yeah, don't give us an extra interchange for that, all right?
Because we came in well under. I think we had 73 out of 75.
Yeah.
So we were well clear. It was fine. But in that moment, I was like, if this comes back to bite us for the second time in 2 years, I'm storming AFL HQ.
Storm the ground. We storm the pitch.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Is that weird? Can someone please like confirm what happened there? Because I know that happened, but was that an interchange? I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah, I can't say I have as well.
Jai was like, just let Will Phil take the kick. And he's like, no, you come and like they had a whole conversation about it. Was weird.
Umpires, chill. It's not about you. All right.
Are you sure?
Well, no, not worth watching all the games. No, not at all. But it's not about you guys. You wear green for a reason. So get out of here. Anyway, let's talk about some players and some individual performances. You want to start with the back line or the forward line?
Let's start with the forward line.
Well, don't know if you've heard of him before, but we've got a big, greasy Souv Larkey, and boy was he greasy.
Those arms.
He was so oiled up. I don't know, Nick.
Him and Paul Curtis. I don't know. You could
imagine them trying to hug and just like
the lights were like reflecting like off their arms. They were so greased up yesterday.
If they high five, there's like a splash. There's like a splash zone they need. You know.
Gross.
Anyway, he was pretty
back
good.
To his best yesterday.
He was pretty good.
The big Souv.
Oh, how good! And 5 goals, 8 marks, 2 contested marks as well, Nick Larkey.
That's not. We love to see a contested mark.
Yeah, look, I love Nick Larkey, and my only thing that I did say to you in the Bay before we praise him beyond belief is I don't know why he can't kick more than 40 metres. Now, his first shot...
that was weird.
It's very strange. Like, he's one of the best key forwards in the league. We know this. We're not debating that. If we're 5 points down and he marks the ball on the 50, I want our big key forward to be able to kick it.
100%. Like a Drew Petrie, like own the moment.
Absolutely. And I think I've seen him do that. I think it was against Sydney. He kicked one from like outside 50. He wheeled around a little bit. I understand if he needs to kick at 40 metres, he kicks at 41.
Yeah.
But sometimes, Nick, please, just kick at 43.
Just go back and kick it.
Oh, yeah, just go back and kick it, please. Look, and that first shot he had was incredibly accurate. It was dead straight. Like you couldn't have split the middle anymore. It just fell short. Other than that,
strange.
Kicked 5, and even he kicked one on the run as well.
Yeah.
What a superstar. I love Nick Larkey. He's only kicked like, they said since the bye, he's only kicked a couple of points or something like that.
Yeah,
very, very minimal
accurate.
amount of points.
I think the great thing about Nick Larkey, look, it's really hard. Obviously, he kicked 70-odd goals last year, made All-Australian, and, he was one of the most celebrated, forwards in the competition last season.
Rightly so.
This season, he obviously has been quite well held for the most part, and I think we also...
Part of that's our form in the first half.
Part of that is, yes, our form in the first half of the season. Also, our delivery to him is horrific half the time.
Yes, it is.
And there was one, when he actually took that first mark, I think it was Shees who just kicked it lace out. He led into space.
Oh, yes.
He took a check. Like, that was just perfection.
It was.
It was absolutely perfect, right? But on the flip side, you've got other guys chipping in now and kicking goals, and it's very much a team. It's really an even spread across the team. For us to be able to start to progress up the ladder and to start taking those next steps as a club, you've got to have both. You've got to have the big hulking forward kicking 50, 60, 70 goals in a season.
Plus
and you've got to have Bull chipping in with 30, 40. Yeah. And you've got to have Paul Curtis chipping in with 30, 40. So
I agree.
You know what I mean? I think as baby steps, and I think that we had the complete season from Larky last year. Now we've got a more even spread across the board. We know that Paul Curtis is going to be there long term. We know that Cam Zerha now, we know he's going to be there long term. So we've got to find a way for everyone to start working together. And I think they'll get there, and I think that they will. And these things do take time. But, for now, I think, it's part of sort of marrying that up together. And yesterday was a great example of, he kicked 5 goals, but we kicked 14 goals amongst the team, so we kind of had people chipping in from everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, look, when we get be a more mature team, we start to get even better. We're going to hopefully be kicking over 100 points. We've done that once this year, right? Yeah. So, the way we get over that 100-point mark, which is such a crucial mark to get over in the AFL if you want to win games consistently, is your key forward is dominating or being really, really solid while everyone else contributes around him. That's what having a cohesive forward line's about.
Yeah.
Duursma.
Rumour says he's still up in the air.
Yeah, I was almost worried he was going to get concussed from hitting the roof and I don't want him out next week.
He got up so high, I had vertigo coming down.
Some say he's still spinning.
Yeah.
That mark was outrageous.
He didn't even, no hands, nothing, just pure leap.
And thank God he fell over at the end, because if you take a hanger and you land on your feet, not for me.
He would have broken his ankles. He would have probably not. He would have got up so high. He would have had a weird landing, crash landing.
Then he got caught in orbit and just floated away into the moon. That mark was incredible. And look, I'm just trying to think of other marks I've seen. I can't imagine a North Melbourne player winning mark of the year.
Matt Jackdaw won it in 2000.
He did actually. Yes, he did.
16.
That big hanger on the wing.
Yeah, so he took it in Boomers. It was Boomers equal 227th game against Collingwood.
Interesting. Yes.
So Madge took that great mark on the wing as well.
Do you think, I know we all say it's mark of the year. Every good mark we say that's mark of the year. Do you think it's mark of the year?
So right now, Bobby Hill and Jamie Elliott are kind of the two that have been in discussion for mark of the year. I think. Yeah, I know.
Standard.
So I think Duursma's.
I don't remember Jamie Elliott's.
It was pretty impressive. It was pretty early on in the season.
I remember Bobby Hill's. I was right there.
That's Jamie Elliott's probably the mark. I would say that's probably the mark of the year.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
To this point, I think Duursma's mark is the only mark that will probably challenge the two. The thing with mark of the year, and I was having a discussion with someone last night after the game. So it's fan choice, right? So fans vote.
Oh, okay. So it will be Collingwood, yeah.
But Collingwood have 2 entrants. So their votes could be split.
Like a Sydney Brownlow performance, they split the votes between 3 blokes and then someone else comes and wins it.
If they split the votes between 2 and then you've got all the North fans voting for Durs and you've got everyone that hates Collingwood voting for Durs because there's only 2 Collingwood marks left.
We could rig this.
We could Stephen Bradbury this.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
I don't know if you know this, Money, but there was an old player called Zaza Pachulia who played in the NBA.
Okay.
And
I don't. No surprises there.
No surprises there. And one year, I don't know what country he's from. He's from like a Latvia or one of those countries in that region, right? And one year, his whole country just decided to vote for him, and he didn't get in. But he's such an average rubbish player, and he was so close to getting in the NBA All-Star game just because the whole country decided to vote for him. We should do that with Duursma.
All right. That's how.
Except actually make him win this time.
We're that massive.
Yeah, we are.
Helmet game done.
Helmet game done.
Now Zane Duursma mark of the year is on the agenda.
Unbelievable. Too bad he didn't have a great game other than that. I mean, he took another good mark in the forward line. Really good marking by Duursma this game. I think he showed.
He does have a great set of hands just generally.
Unbelievable.
I think that's a big strength of his.
I guess it's just learning how to contribute around the ground. Like he didn't kick one in the end. He just missed. He's hit the post, I think, for his first shot.
Quite at the top of the post there.
Yeah, hit the top of the post. Other than that, he didn't do too much around the ground, which... Yeah, I would like to see more from Duursma personally. I mean, look, we've been saying all year he's going to take mark of the year, and he already has done that. But it's also about he hasn't even been in talk for a Rising Star nomination for all these games this year and stuff like that.
It's got to be more than just a highlight reel for him, and I think again that will
He'll get there.
He will get there for sure, but I think he also needs to work for it a little bit harder.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
You look at the season that we've had, and we've made this comparison before, and I know they're different players, but you look at Colby McKercher and then you look at Duursma, right?
Yeah.
Colby McKercher has become such an an important part
Reliable.
of our 23. And like we really feel, you know, him missing when he's not there. And he added so much yesterday, particularly in that first half. He was a big reason as to why we were able to withhold the pressure, and he was able to clear the ball out of our defensive 50. So, you know, he and Fisher, I know Fisher didn't play yesterday, but the two of them have become such an important pairing for us in that back line. Whereas you look at Duursma, he hasn't been able to keep his spot on the side. He's been a bit up and down in terms of form when he has played. And I know he'll get there, but I just think he needs to want it more. Like he's got to recognise that this isn't a lock for him.
Your talent's not just going to get you there now.
No,
this is what a. I mean, look, not trying to bring it up.
I don't want to have a knock on him because it's still his first year. But
I just think it's almost like a Jason Horne-Francis thing to me, where I feel like, I know there was a lot that went on in the first year, but I feel like that sort of guy, and you can see it with Port Adelaide's midfield, not last night because they smashed them, but in general, I think a lot of they're very talented players, but when it really comes down to doing the hard stuff, I just don't think it's there. And I think, you know, talent isn't just going to get you there. You now have to work and try and be part of the system and buy into everything.
That's the only
I'm
way
not
this
saying he
team's
hasn't
gonna
done
improve.
that. 100%. I'm not saying Duursma, obviously, I'm not comparing him to Horne-Francis' attitude at all, because Duursma's going to be a star. But I'm just more talking about, like, a lot of these young guys have been able to get through a lot of the ranks with their talent alone.
Yeah.
And now you step up from the under 18s to AFL level, which is a massive, massive jump. That's way bigger, obviously, than VFL to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think he will lock in, and I think his mindset is correct and right, and he'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
The forward line's also the hardest place on the ground to play for a young player as well. But
especially at North, when it probably doesn't go down there as much as we need
and the
it
delivery
to.
isn't fantastic as well. But he'll get there. But it's you can't just rely on your talent now. You've got to really put in a shift. And I think he'll do it. But we need to maybe start seeing him doing a little bit more of the fundamentals.
I agree, especially the last sort of month. The club's kind of made a pretty big statement with our forward line only offering Eddie Ford 1 year.
Yeah, it's
in terms
interesting.
of the contract, because I feel like they probably thought that Zerha, by that point, they probably thought Zerha would re-sign. And the whispers that Zerha was going to sign a 5-year extension came around the same time where Eddie Ford only signed that 1-year extension.
Yeah.
And so the club's not mucking around. Eddie Ford has had a really great year, and I think a lot of fans have been sitting here thinking, why hasn't he been selected at times and why has he been made the sub? Because yesterday he pushed higher up the ground, and I've made this comment before on the pod. Ever since he's sort of transitioned to that more high half forward, pushing onto the wing, his game has evolved.
Yeah, he's
and
good. He's good everywhere on the ground, like pushing down a half back yesterday.
100%. I think he was really good yesterday, and he really, you know, contributed nicely. But the club's making a statement here, and they're making, you got to prove yourself, and you've got to prove that you're worth
it's a higher bar now to get into this team.
And
it's
that's
not
what we
2019, 2020, 2021 anymore.
Well, that's the only way we're ever going to improve.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got a note here, like, I want to put Paul Curtis and Eddie Ford in the same bracket here, because I think they had a very similar game.
Yeah.
I've just sort of said here, like, Curtis and Ford provided pressure down the ground, and they were a presence all game. They didn't get on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to get on the scoreboard, like a kicking 5, Zerha kicked 1 or 2, I can't remember.
One, LDU chipped in with a few.
LDU's got a few. You know, there was other players like Brintique who got a goal. Like, there was a very big spread of goal kickers.
Yeah.
If they're not going to be getting on the scoreboard, I was really happy with how they pushed down to halfback to receive the ball and be part of the link-up chains. And that's the stuff. And that's this, like you were talking about, raising the floor of this club.
Yeah.
Instead of having passengers in some games like this. Now, what 2 years ago, maybe a game like for those guys would have been more of a passenger. Now that they're actually pushing down the ground and contributing, it's raising our floor a little bit.
Well,
so I'm really happy with them, you know, being able to contribute even if they weren't kicking goals.
No, well, I said to you late in the second quarter, I said Paul Curtis's game.
Yeah. He was everywhere. He
fantastic. And I think that is the big difference between someone like, Paul Curtis is like 21. He's only had a few years in the system. So, you know, again, I'm not trying to trash talk Duursma whatsoever.
No.
But that will come with experience. He's
100%.
acknowledged that the ball isn't maybe coming into the forward line as much, and he isn't having an impact up forward. So for him, and that's also a coaching thing. It's not just a Paul Curtis thing, but for him to sort of push up the ground and be where the ball is. I think that just comes with maturity and experience. And I loved what both of them did yesterday. I think I'm used to seeing Eddie Ford push higher up. So for Paul Curtis to do it, I think it just made me notice it a bit more.
I would rather Duursma like deeper though. If Eddie Ford and Duursma are playing, obviously along with Curtis and Zerha and all those other guys.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think
Duursma stays forward.
Duursma closer to goal. But with that leap, I mean, you've got to have him closer to goal.
Absolutely. I
and
don't
Eddie Ford's
disagree with
proven
you.
he's so good
He's got
up
a great
and down the
tank.
wing. So
yeah,
I
agree with you.
two other players I want to talk about in the forward line before we go to some voice messages.
Okay.
Toby Pink and Robert Hansen Jr. What did you think of their performances?
Not enough from either of them.
Robert Hansen, I think, was okay. Limited minutes. Obviously, came on. Dylan Stevens did his ankle.
Yeah.
I thought Dylan Stevens was having an okay game as
Yeah,
well,
I thought so
especially
too.
his first half. I mean, I think he provided a lot of run and all that sort of stuff, and I liked him like building into his game. And then I was
Yeah.
like, why did he get subbed off when there's all these other guys? But then
So
we
he did
found
his
out his
ankle, so
ankle.
he played only half a game.
But Hansen Jr. provided a little bit, a couple of good link-up handballs, and I think when he got the ball, smart decisions, but it's still no goal threat.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the problem. I think he's got more talent than Phoenix Spicer or a Jack Marnie, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
you know, we've still got a few of these players that I'm like, well, you're not offering goals and you're not offering tackling. So, you know, I know he's getting played because I think Robert Hansen's improvement in the VFL has been very, very good,
Yeah.
but he
he's out
still
of
needs a lot
and he's
more.
out of contract at the end of the year.
I think they'll give him another one. I would be surprised if he doesn't get another 1 year with his VFL improvement.
and just kind of give him some time
Why not?
to prove himself.
Yeah, we may as well.
I don't have an issue with that.
No.
It's one of those hard ones where he's a little bit older. So when he was taken in the mid-season draft, I think people and he showed some great signs in the waffle before he was drafted.
he
He
looked
kind of
good.
just came from nowhere.
And he's had those moments in the VFL for us this year too.
So it's being able to take yourself from being a VFL grade
100%.
player to an AFL
Very
grade
hard
player.
as a small, lightweight forward.
Exactly. But he's just got to find a way to get himself involved. I have no issue giving him another
No,
year.
absolutely.
Right now, he's not doing much for me, and I get it. He was a sub yesterday. He probably was a really, like, I think, and you've spoken about this before, I think he was a good sub choice. I think that kind of player, you know, he's got the ability to change the game, but he's just got to, he can't be afraid to take onus and to change the game.
I
Do you
agree.
know what I mean?
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah, that's the sort of player I'd like to be able to bring on and change a game. I think it's more impactful than just another midfielder. I think, you know, when you're making a sub late in the game, you either want to win the game or you either want to lock the game up. Yeah. And that, you know, a player that can do that, either one of those things for me would be a much better sub than putting another midfielder on for more run. Yeah. Which is, I'm very confused why they don't do that. I'm not an AFL coach, obviously, so like I should be apparently. Yeah. Hopefully he gets another year. Toby Pink does have another year. I was very critical of picking Toby Pink over Callan Dawson for this game. We'll talk about the defence and combat and all that sort of stuff later. But, you know, for me, it's a lot more obvious and a lot more deserving for Callan Dawson to get that spot and keep Chom in the forward line. Chom was good at the back. He obviously is a bit sore. We'll talk about that. But I don't know. I don't get the Toby Pink thing. He kicked a couple of goals in the VFL the week before. I guess he kicked a couple against Sydney as well. But he, honestly, and this is not just taking the piss, I thought he got subbed off and then he was still on the ground in the second half.
You asked me that.
Yeah, I did. And that was genuine too. I was like, did Toby Pink get subbed off or like what's going on?
And I was like, no, he's on the bench. He's like, is he been on the bench for the whole game?
Yeah.
Oh, Toby Pink.
Look, we love Toby Pink and he's going to be one of those players we remember forever.
Yeah, of course.
But I just don't think... I think there's different options. Obviously, with Griffin Logue going out, I get it, but I think Callan Dawson is such a better replacement and such a better player at this level. We could have really used a Callan Dawson. I think he's earned his spot and maybe deserves it a bit more than Toby Pink with his performances this season. So, look, Toby Pink, probably the most anonymous player on the ground. I think it's probably time to swap him out for someone else who can do a little bit more. You know, I don't want to trash anybody, and I hope Toby Pink comes back next week if he plays and kicks 10. But I don't know. Not the best game from him. I guess at least Robert Hansen. I think Robert Hansen did more in his quarter and a bit than Toby Pink did the entire game.
Toby Pink took a great contested mark and almost kicked. You know, finished it off with an
was
epic
it contested?
goal.
I don't think it was very contested.
I thought it was.
No,
a bit of pressure.
I mean, players were on the field with him, yeah. So, and then he butchered the kick. So look. Look, Marty, it's not like it's a sick dog or something. Oh, no, we're not trying to be critical of any players, obviously, and I love everyone who plays for North Melbourne. But we have to say it how it is, and we have to talk about everything. And I just think Toby Pink is maybe not quite there, and another very lackluster or nothing performance. When I think there was a very obvious different option we could have gone with in selection.
I don't know if they didn't. And we'll talk about Charlie Convent a bit later. I don't know if they chose not to do that because they knew Chom was a bit sore.
I would have thought putting him at full forward would be much better for his, you know, if he is sore than putting him in the back line personally.
I'm not
Anyway, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, we'll talk that later.
Let's go to voice messages.
Okay, sounds good.
We've got some crackers this week. I downloaded them all for a listen through, and yeah, people are up and about.
And as usual, I have not been able to listen to them because Josh doesn't let me listen to them until the episode goes live, but I'm sure they are amazing as always.
They're good.
Thank you for everyone who does send their voice memos in. As you know, we play them every single week on the show. Always send your best, hottest, spiciest takes to furthernorthpod@gmail.com. We'll be back on the other side of this.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
I really like the game. And Harry Cecil and Aiden Cole and Jane Stevenson did really well. Well, that's kind of good. From North Melbourne.
Hey Josh, hey Marnie, Jen here. It wasn't pretty at times today, but a win's a win and we'll celebrate every fucking win we get. How bloody good. Kanga, 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 roo, roo, roo. And Dane Duursma's mark, how good was that? Mark of the year. Go Roos.
Fuck me, winning feels good, doesn't it? I mean, I woke up watching the replay of this, kind of knew the result, but fuck, they don't make it easy, do they? But, you know, could have easily gone big, but, you know, we're not going to get critical on them. A win's a win at this point. Just happy for it. Happy for the boys. So, come on the Roos!
Kanga, kanga, kanga! Roo, roo, roo! Woohoo! Get around those boys! Legacy game from LDU, thank you. Can we just give Tristan Sherry the Sid now?
Yes, Kangas! Turnovers kept Richmond in the game, and we are lucky they could not kick for shit. We've really got to be better with that. Any other team would have tore us apart.
All right, Marnie, what do you think of those?
Amazing. As always, you guys always bring the energy and the heat. And for those who don't know, Josh doesn't show me any of your voice memos until...
No, I'm just setting her up. But I listened to all of them when I downloaded them to put them in the podcast.
I'm sure they were amazing.
I genuinely love the contributions.
Thank you guys
absolutely
so
love
much.
So,
we love having you guys part of the pod. It definitely adds another special touch.
I want to say, I want to be like, oh my God, thank you to this person. But I feel like I miss people out. But like, you know, Jared from Tassie and Jen's messages and Nick's, and I don't know, there's so many good contributors every week, and I think that's really cool that we've made like a little thing that happens. So every week when the regulars pop into the email, I'm like, I better check that one out. They're back.
Look who's back.
Speaking of back, jokes, LDU's always here. How good's he?
Oh, that is the next, like, you want to talk about someone we need to make sure we lock in long term, give him a 25-year deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give him whatever he wants. LDU,
seriously, give him whatever he wants.
I think Clarko needs to walk up to him, give him the MasterCard and be like, it's yours, mate.
Yeah, go nuts.
It's on the company.
He's a freak.
3 goals as well. The last goal he kicked was, I don't know how that thing went through. That was a helicopter.
And this is the big thing with LDU is we know he's talented and we know what he can do. But for him to be able to take that next step into being
goals
an
is the
elite
next step.
midfielder, like a Petrarca.
I was going to say that game was so Petrarca in his prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that what a player. Like, especially when the Tigers were really doing a bit in the first quarter and a half.
Yeah.
You know, he was the one that started winning those taps.
Yeah.
Is it the second goal he kicked where Jerry taps the ball behind his head, he just picks it up and
just goes, wheels and goes.
That is so, like, I'm like, is that Chris Judd or is that Luke Davies?
Yeah, that's
or are they
just
the same player?
Not normal.
That was probably the best game I think I've seen him play. With impact.
The most complete game.
The most complete
for sure.
game. Like, with the goals, that's what makes it his best game I've seen him play. Yes, he may have had more touches around the ground, more clearances, whatever. Like, we're at the stats, like 3 goals, 33 touches, 8 clearances, 14 contested possessions, and 3 goal assists as well.
Yeah.
6 goal contributions on top of everything else around clearance.
Yeah.
That's his best game he's played for the club, I think. His most complete game. 3 goals is his career high as well. He kicked 2 before that.
Yeah.
Arguably should have kicked 2 goals, 1. I don't know how that last one went through, but it was very funny. And I loved his reaction as well. And in the bay, we kanga-kangering a lot.
Yeah, of course.
I had to hold the torch this week for the kanga-kangers.
You did a great job,
Thank you so much. Because, you know, Admin 3 decided to go book a trip to Sydney this week, the silly boy.
Of any week.
Any week.
Yeah, just...
Sean, pull your head in, mate. I hope you're having a great time.
Footy
by the way.
comes
You and
first,
Laura
though.
have a great time up there, but footy comes first. Anyway, I was like, oh no, he's not here. So I think it's on me to step up, and I have to step up in this game. I'm like, LDU goes down, Toby Pink plays forward. I got to step up, and I kangared my heart out.
I'm so proud of you.
When LDU kicked that one off his shin, I turned around and LDU sort of went like this. I went, I don't know how that went through. So I turned around to the bay and went, I don't know. Kanga. And everyone rude. And that was a fun time. I love LDU though.
We love LDU, and I think it's, again, pre-buy North, post-buy North is just worlds apart. But for LDU, he's been getting very similar numbers most weeks. It was just before the buy, a lot of them were turnovers and a lot of them were just going on a path to nowhere, whereas now he's actually having serious impact. He's so damaging. And I think part of that, and it comes with the pressure, right? Sheasel being moved into the midfield. Now, she's had a pretty quiet day by Sheasel standards.
Still got
yesterday.
29 touches, but I agree with you. It's a very quiet. It felt quiet.
Honestly,
that's a quiet game for him.
I know, it is. Yeah, he's a freak. But she's moving into the midfield, I think, has alleviated some pressure off LDU. Jai Simpkins, he's definitely played into form in the second half of the season. That takes pressure off LDU. And we need, Sheasel's a superstar, but we need Tom Powell had a great game yesterday. Bailey Scott had a great game yesterday on the wing. It's these guys doing the work. Darcy Tucker, another excellent performance yesterday.
Yep.
I've really liked his
24 touches, I think. He was solid yesterday.
He was really solid yesterday. So it's these guys, and it's everyone playing their role. And this is why I think a big contributor as to why this team has sort of been able to, come together, win 3 games after the bye. We're playing like a unit and everything's clicked.
Yeah, everyone's doing what they need to do, and he can just capitalise.
Yeah, the role players are playing their roles and the superstars are doing superstar things.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think the thing I loved about it, besides all the other things we're bragging about, is, like I said, when the TIGS were on top, he was the one I felt was like, no, I'm going to do this. And that was like almost a sign of leadership from him, I think.
Yeah.
And we've always said LDU off the field doesn't seem like the leader type. Not his fault. If that's not him, that's not him.
His actions.
He needs to lead on the field
volume.
with his actions. And he did that yesterday because the Tigers were on top in the mid and he went, let me do what I do.
Yeah.
And he got along, he started getting along more. And then Sheasel got into the game a little bit more because he was starting to dominate. And Sheasel's a smart player. He knows, let LDU cook, I'll capitalize off LDU's success.
Yeah.
Sheasel, I think, was a massive reason in the second half why we stabilised.
Yeah.
Because he sort of got into the game a bit more. I think yesterday we saw the only 2 Harry Sheasel bad moments of his entire career, where he kicked one out on the full.
Yes.
There was another one he did, which was didn't
like
he
a little tap.
He slapped the ball behind his head straight to 4 Richmond players, and they went up. And I was like, "What's going on with
This
Harry
is very
Sheasel?
un-Harry
We've only seen the
Sheasel-like.
2 lowlights of his entire career today,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the game he really locked in and he steadied and." We know how much, stability he brings to our midfield. And I think that's also a massive reason why, halfway through the second quarter into the second half, we just stabilised and controlled the game, especially in the midfield, a lot more. So well done, Shees. Quiet day, still 29 touches.
At 19 years of age, he is
it's
the
ridiculous.
ultimate professional on and off the field. The way he speaks, the way he spoke on radio about Cam Zerhard during the week.
Yeah,
Cam Zerhard's actually someone we haven't spoken about yet.
Yeah.
But just,
I'll be honest with Cam Zerhar's game because we didn't mention him with the forwards before. I thought he was
he was okay. He did a great goal, and the roar that came from the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I think it meant so much to us. And obviously,
Yep.
the King of Marvel game is his game,
Yep.
and that was against Richmond. I think he did what he had to do. I think he, Curtis, and Eddie Ford all had a similar sort of game, played their role. But I think Cam
the expectations
Zerhar,
higher on Zerhar.
I agree with you, but I think Zerhar's game has evolved this season, and I do think he probably needs to hit the scoreboard more in general. Yes, I don't disagree with you, but I think him being a bit of a playmaker, we're so used to him being the star. I don't think he has to be the star all the time anymore up forward. I think, yesterday it was LDU and Larky kicked 5, but there wasn't a need for, he ball kicked a great goal and the crowd went wild, but I think he just contributed. Again, he played, I think he's one of those players, you've got the role players and you've got the superstars. I think he can do both.
Yeah, no,
I think
agree.
he's one of the only players in our side that actually can do both.
Yeah,
and
well,
I
this
think
is the
yesterday
thing.
he played his role really well.
Yeah, about lifting the floor, right? So the floor needs to be raised. So instead of having passengers, you have players who are contributing in other areas if it's not on the scoreboard or whatever your role is. So, he was okay yesterday. He did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
He fit into the system. He wasn't a negative. He tackled hard. He chased.
Yeah.
He won possession and he was clean with the ball.
It's just nice to see his spark back as well.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think that kind of we can just put all this sort of stuff to rest. And we've questioned his intent and is his head in it. I think a lot of us probably questioned it on the back of Mackay's season last year and then what happened when he left at the end of the year. But, we can put that to bed finally and we can just sort of look now to move on, and we know what our core forward line structure is going to be moving forward now, so we can just work to improve that.
That video that they put out of Nick and him, telling Nick Larkey first, like, I don't know. It's such a different side of Zerha that I'd seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. Like, us as fans go, is his head in it? He doesn't look engaged. And I don't think he did at all. But is that true? It's only speculation. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to, let us into his personal life all the time.
And he's
but I guess
not
that's
like that.
And he's not like that. But that I'm sure he understands why the fans speculate if his body language is like that. But, that video of him and Nick, I'm just like, wow, he really does care a lot.
Yeah.
And
it was a great moment.
when he said, I'm going to be a Roo for life, or like I bleed blue and white, you could hear it in his voice that he meant that. And I felt like when he said I bleed blue and white, he sounded nervous to say it.
I actually just got goosebumps when he said
it's like when you say you love someone the first time and you sort of, I love you. Like you sort of like hesitate a little bit.
Yeah, that's how you sounded when you told me you loved me for the first time.
I still sound like that. And I felt like he had that in his voice, which means it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like love Cam Zerha. Great thing that he's signed. But we've still got to hold him to a standard. Big 5-year deal. He needs to. I think I'd want more from him than he did yesterday. But we got the win. He wasn't a negative, and I'll lump him in with the Fords and the Curtises.
Another guy we're hoping to keep beyond this season is Bailey Scott, and he's someone who I think's also turned a huge corner.
It was a very good game.
Yeah. Again, a really complete game. He kicked the sealer as well, and for him to just kind of go, and his kicking is something that we've all spoken about all year. We've been a bit, questioned his disposal and really questioned, his decision making at times. But I think it was again that real sign of maturity when he was able to take that mark, go back 40 meters out and slot it, and ultimately kick the sealer was exactly what we needed. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to lump Tom Powell in with him as well.
I think similar type games, really, really solid. Halfback Tom Powell, really good game from him off halfback, especially with Fish going down. And is that a role he can play? I guess. Look, we're really struggling to fit everyone in this team at the moment.
Everyone's playing off halfback at this point.
Yeah, we just got a whole team of half. I'm excited for halfback Larky next week. That'll be good.
I'm not.
I'll put Brent Teakle off halfback. That'd be good.
God.
I don't know. I just think Bailey Scott and Tom Powell's performances really, really solid, and they just contributed to part of the unit. Like you said before, we're playing as a complete unit, a complete team at the moment, and they did exactly what they needed to do. Really, really good games. I'm not saying that they were average and just, did what they had to do. I'm saying their game was fantastic. Like Bailey Scott, the amount of drive and run that he presented yesterday was fantastic. Yep. Always like running past a pack to receive a handball and pushing us forward. I didn't actually look up the meters gain stat, but he surely had to be number one in meters gain.
He can just run all day, that guy.
Oh, yeah. And Tom Powell off halfback, really good decision-making, pushed up into the midfield. He had a few centre bounce attendances as well. So, I don't know, a good hybrid role for him, sort of halfback, midfield.
Shout out to Tom Powell. I just think we haven't spoken about him too much on the pod this year because he's a role player.
Start of the year, it was like, oh my God, this guy. And then it sort of regressed a little bit, but he's found his...
But I think he's found his groove, and I think the way he's been able to work his way into this season and to really become a real core part of this midfield group speaks volumes about, you want to talk about someone with work rate and great work ethic. That's Tom Powell.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation's gone from, well, Tom Powell, where can he get in this midfield? Or maybe he doesn't get in for this guy to, he's playing. Yeah. Where do we play him on the park? Yeah. And I think that's the biggest difference for him this year. Obviously, he's shown his potential this year as well. And I think, re-signed and, worthy of that. But he's a player we have to find a spot for now compared to does he play this week because of our midfield depth. So, and that's a great thing. But he was great, really solid. I didn't see heaps of turnovers from him like he maybe has done in the past. Good efficiency. And him and Bailey Scott sort of providing run and carry. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
What do you think of Will Phil's game?
He was, I'm going to lump it in with the level of game of like a Ford or a Curtis or a I think he was there. He did well.
Nice goal.
He kicked our first goal, I think. So, he was good. He was good, but maybe didn't stand out compared to the other guys. But once again, not everyone can have a cracking game. And this is we've got another note here with Simpkin, and these guys. I think I can. Simpkin's game was better than Will Phil's, but I said something about Simpkin a few weeks ago where if Simpkin can play that fourth midfielder role to Wardlaw, LDU, Sheasel, then that's the perfect role, and I think he's complemented them really well. I think Will Phil complemented what everyone in that midfield was doing yesterday. Didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't really tagging anybody. I think he was being vigilant of a Taranto and that sort of stuff, but didn't seem to be tagging anybody.
No real hard tag.
Not a hard tag. He complimented everyone in that game, and yeah, he was fine.
So before you go on to Simpkin, just sticking with Wilford for a second. So we managed Liam Shields in this game. He obviously didn't play yesterday. We've got 3 games left of our season.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, unlikely that Shields will play again next year. I would think he'd probably retire at the end of the year. If he went around again, I mean, great. I've got no issue with that. But we have a decision now to make what we do with Will Phil, because presumably Wardlaw comes back next week, provided that the concussion
I'm not convinced he plays the rest of the year, Wardlaw.
Really?
Yeah, I just think concussion a couple of weeks ago, out for 2 weeks, another little concussion thing
Maybe
now.
just like
I think you almost put him on ice. We can clearly win without him. I love George Wardlaw, we know that, and I want him to play next week, but I don't know, I just get the feeling with this concussion thing that
it's just not worth risking it.
Yes, but also I also think kind of the other side of that where it's a little bit too overblown. Like I don't know. I'm not saying don't take concussion seriously at all, because it's a serious thing and you don't want players later in life having issues. But, missing 2 weeks of footy for a concussion, I think it's a little bit too much. So I think he should be able to play, but I just think with how the clubs handle it, I think they're handling it more out of not getting sued later than I'm serious. Like I think they're presenting it as, we care about the players and they do, but realistically, Wardlaw doesn't miss 2 games in a row because he got concussed at training. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me. And I know that, George Wardlaw, when he's 50, they don't want him to come back and say, hey, you didn't take care of me, which I think is a rubbish argument anyway. All the players in the 80s who were complaining about concussion, they were king hitting each other on the field. So, this is a different debate. My main thing is I just think concussion is such a dangerous thing legally and physically for the players in the clubs that I just don't think they're going to risk it. I think they should. I think they should play him. Absolutely 100%, but I just don't think they will.
Look, George Wardlaw's one of those guys, and I know a hamstring and a concussion are completely different injuries, but we know that he is probably a little bit fragile and a little bit injury prone. He obviously had issues with his hamstrings last year. So maybe they're just taking that cautious approach. But George Wardlaw aside, do we now, for the last 3 games of the year, just stick with Will Phil and just let him play?
Well, very strong rumours he's signed a 2-year deal. Fairly reliable sources, and I think obviously Jackson Archer, the same people were talking about Jackson Archer's 2-year deal a couple of months ago, it felt like, and then all of a sudden the club posted about it last week, and you're like,
did you guys miss the
I'm pretty sure that he signed it ages ago, guys. I don't know if the admin scheduled the post 2 months late, but I kind of feel like that. I think he's going to stay. He clearly loves the club. If he has signed that deal and he doesn't play, once again, with Will Phil's selection history, wouldn't be surprised, but he absolutely should.
Let's talk about our captains. We'll go with Simpkin and then we'll move on to Luke McDonald in the back line.
Yes.
Simpkin has got this incredible ability, which I think very few players in our side have, and he can bring us back from the dead. I'm not saying we were dead at halftime.
No, I know what you mean, though.
But
it's a bit of inspiration.
He's
it's
a
leadership.
fire starter, and that is something that is so hard to find, and that's obviously why he's one of our co-captains. He played well yesterday in the first half, but he came out all guns blazing at the start of the third quarter and once again led the charge. And LDU does the flashy stuff and Harry Sheasler does the flashy stuff and Nick Larkey's kicking goals, and I'm not doubting any of that. But there's a reason this guy is one of our captains, and once again he proved that yesterday.
We saw at the start of the West Coast game, he was the first in over the ball and set the tone for that game.
Well, that was the best game he's played for the club.
Yeah, and then, he did that especially in the second half. I think it was the third quarter where he laid a tackle. Like, Richmond turned the ball over. So we turned the ball over to Richmond. They got the ball back and they were out. But Simpkin it was massive in the ground, but I went home and I watched the replay. He comes from nowhere on the screen and comes into frame and just absolutely poleaxes this bloke, and he spills the ball. And I can't remember if we transitioned or we at least got possession and formed another contest, but Richmond were out. And if he didn't come out of nowhere and lay that massive, it was a huge tackle, it was a big hit too. If he didn't lay that, That's Richmond were transitioning through the midfield all game. That's the one criticism I'll put on North and maybe the midfield is, you know, the
Had
transition.
so much space.
Oh, the amount of times that Richmond players were open in the corridor as well was not good enough personally. But Simpkin, yes, I think he makes poor decisions with the ball sometimes. Like his disposal efficiency doesn't seem to be the best, but he makes up for that with sheer effort. He finds the scoreboard every now and then. He does lead and he can put people on his back and drag them with him. I think since the bye he's been great. This is the Simpkin we sort of remember. Maybe not Sid Barker level Simpkin, but you know,
his
once again,
responsibility is different now.
Well, that's it. Playing that fourth role in the midfield behind those guys who are going to be guns.
Yeah.
So I think he realised he doesn't have to carry it anymore as much. Don't try to do everything and complement the better players around you, and he's fitting in so well today.
He doesn't need to carry the midfield because he's carrying the team as a whole, as a co-captain.
It's setting a standard, and I think he knows when the time to act is that will rally the troops a little bit. And he always seems to pop up in a game and do something big. That tackle for me was a tone setter because the Tigers came out and kicked the first goal in the third.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, he lays that tackle, and you're like, wow. I haven't seen a vicious tackle like that for a little bit in this game.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like rally the troops. And once again, we said the West Coast game was the same. So he sets standards around the ground, and he continuously has moments where we're maybe humming along at a 6 or a 7 and he does something and we lift to an 8 or a 9 or something like that. So
our other captain, Luke McDonald, moving on to the back line. For me, Luke McDonald has had one of the moments of the season. I've spoken about this so many times on this show after the Adelaide game, that press conference that he did with North Media. That man, it's very rare to find genuine shin boners these days.
Yeah, he's as blue and white as it gets, right? Like, you know, I don't think his game yesterday was incredible, but I think he just did what he had to do. Yeah. He got a lot of, like, I think it was 8 marks and like 10 intercepts or something.
Yeah.
I think he's slotting into that Jack Zeeble role from last year.
Nicely.
Pretty nicely, and not getting any credit for it. I think we're also scared from last year when he's got the ball, but I don't see him butchering the ball all the time. Everyone gets a few turnovers, but, you know, he's been really, really solid for us, you know, majority of this season. And it's almost upsetting that he doesn't get, I'm not saying he deserves praise necessarily, but I'm saying we should acknowledge what he's doing and talk about it more because, you know, everyone would die for a passionate North Melbourne, you know, man to come into the club and play 200 games and captain and that sort of stuff.
And I think that is so the romance has been a bit lost maybe in his form. And I think a lot of people really question his on-field performance, especially being a co-captain. But there's no better person to stand alongside Jai Simpkin than someone who emulates everything that this club is about. Yeah. And, you know, we would all die by that jumper, and we rock up week in, week out, and we weather the storm. And if he wasn't out on the field every week, he would be in the stands.
Well, they showed a photo of him with the No Gold Coast sign as well.
Yeah, that rally at the end of 2007.
That's awesome. So, yeah, look, I'm not expecting people to go out and praise Luke McDonald all the time, but I think we all need to acknowledge how solid he's been this year, how, you know, reliable for most of the time he's been, but he does love this club and he's the closest thing in our entire list to what we are as fans, I think.
I agree, for sure.
I think that's worth a shout, but he's been good. He's been really good. You know, I don't understand. I look at North Melbourne Post and he's always in the comment, like people always talking about him saying drop him, and I just don't get it. These people can't watch the games. There's no way they can watch. I understand like before the Adelaide game and last year, 100%. But we've seen, like, look at Tristan Xerri. We all love him now, don't we? Yeah. And he was really bad for a lot of his career. And now he's probably our favourite player, right? Yeah. So it's like, you know, I don't understand why he doesn't get this second chance or this. He won a Sid Barker medal. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know why everyone has in their head that this isn't the guy to be like, he's playing great this year and turn around on him. Everyone's just stuck in their heads with he's not good, and I don't get it.
It's probably because he is reaching the later stages of his career and it's the play
he's not even 30 though.
He'll be 30
He's got 4 years. He's got 4 or 5 years left.
I genuinely love him, and I think that it's really just 200 games is an incredible achievement. And I know that a lot of people might not really be happy with what he's done on the field at times, but this football is no longer a job like a 9 to 5 like it was 25, 30 years ago. This is an entire life.
Yeah, yeah.
You are day in, day out. You live it, you breathe it. Football is such a big business now, and it becomes your life. And if you don't have guys like Luke McDonald at the helm who would like die for this club and really just, like I said, emulate everything that this club is about and it has been about for the last 120 odd years, then
what have you got at the end of the year? I agree.
And he was voted in as a co-captain by the players because of what he does off the field.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to be successful as a club, we've got to be successful as an entirety. We can't just be successful on field. We can't just be successful in the off field, in the administration, in the no debt, in the VFL. Like as an entire unit, the women, everyone's got to come together as one. Yeah. And he is such a key part
he's the glue.
To us becoming successful as a unit down the track and sustaining it too.
To acknowledge things I've said in the past as well. Like I've questioned him at points as well.
We all have. We've all done it with every player.
So it's not like we're just saying, oh, wow, we love Luke McDonald, always have. Look, if someone asked me in the first 6 rounds, should he be captain, I probably would have said no. I remember at the start of the year I said, I think Larky should be captain and I think you should put like Simpkin and Luke McDonald as like a vice captain and that sort of stuff. Do I stand by that now? Yes and no. I mean, I think maybe like long term is Luke McDonald the captain of the club? Maybe not. But it's like how much we appreciate Jack Zeeble for captaining the club through such a hard time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Luke McDonald and Jai Simpkin have, grabbed that pile of rubbish and are continuously bringing that through until it becomes something very beautiful. Yeah. And it's like we need to understand how hard of a time the club has been through and they've led us through that. The one thing I don't like about Luke McDonald, I miss his beard. His beard used to be so big and so glorious.
It was bushy.
And I saw a photo, obviously, in the montage they put up and I'm like, Luke, you look better with the beard, man.
I think you should call him and let him know.
I will send him a message. As a beard boy myself, we've got to stick together. We're going to talk about someone who's just as passionate as North Melbourne as Luke McDonald, Jackson Archer.
I thought you were going to say Glenn Archer there for a second. I was like...
Oh, it could have been. Who knows? Looked like the same bloke on the field.
Good Lord.
Good Lord, Marnie.
We've got a player on our hands.
He, and spoiler alert, he's in the top 3 for the Sean Adler Club champ votes. The intercept marking and how clean his hands are in a marking contest is something I was like, where has this come from, Jackson Archer?
It's in his blood. It's the courage.
Oh, I was so, and this is an emotional moment for me. I was so happy.
I'm here for you.
I was so happy that his dad was there to watch him play that game because that could arguably be, look, the Bailey Fritz game, probably his best lockdown job. Yeah. But I think as an intercept marking, he was the only reason we didn't concede 10 goals in that first quarter. He cut that ball off so many times back there. I think it might be his most complete game of football. I don't know. What's his name? Shy Bolton. You call him Sydney Stack. Marnie said
That's
Sydney.
a meme. I know it's Shy Bolton. I know it's Shy Bolton. Can I just say?
Yes, I know. That was funny in the bay. I forgot about Sydney Stack. Anyway.
I clearly haven't.
So no, live on. Is it true or not that, this is a side note, is it true or not that Sydney Stack was the guy who snuck his missus into the bubble in the lockdown?
No, I think he went clubbing or got a kebab or something.
Or all of them,
who knows?
On the Gold
Coast. Yeah, something like that.
Sounds good. Anyway, I know it wasn't a lockdown on Fritz level. Bolton only kicked 1 goal.
Yeah,
Bolton only kicked 1 goal with all the intercepts. I'm going to throw it out there, and I think that might be Jackson Archer's best game.
Okay,
tell me your thoughts.
No. I think that and the Bailey Fritch game were probably on par.
Yeah, 8 intercepts, 5 tackles. Bolton only 1 goal. And some of the intercepts he's taking, it looks like he's Charlie Comben size.
Well, he never. But this is the Archer name.
Oh God, I love Archers.
He never flinches going back with the flight.
No, he does. He's so tough.
He never
isn't he?
hesitates. He just goes for it. He doesn't even think about it, and that is symbolic of Glenn Archer and the courage, the trademark courage that he brought. All those years at North. Now Jacko's doing the same. I mean, I definitely was sitting here at the start of the year thinking, where is this guy going to fit in?
Well, look, if I want to have a little humble brag, I did have him in my starting 22 at the start of the year.
For you. And that's a great
I've always
call.
believed in Jackson Archer, and is it my heart over my head early on? Probably.
It's
and
a
I'll
great
admit
call
that.
though, because he's gone past Goda, he's gone past Bergman.
He has something that the other guys in the team don't, and it is that
it's that
he
edge.
wants to defend.
He plays with that hard edge.
And he's a defender at heart. You know, he wants to defend. I guarantee if he kicks a goal, he'll celebrate a spoil more than he'll celebrate a goal because he's that sort of guy.
And that's someone you can build that backline around.
I love Jackson Archer. Mate, I bought a Jackson Archer badge last week and it's in the mail. It's coming.
It's on its way.
I'm very excited. I bought the Charlie Common one too because he can't get them at the store.
That's hot property, guys.
If you've got a Charlie Common badge, chuck it on eBay for like $1,000, I reckon. Because
you'd make a great profit off that.
You make a great profit.
Well, let's talk about Charlie Comben.
Okay.
Not a bad game from him yesterday, but
his stats were actually very good. Like he got to 22
really
touches, still took a bunch of intercepts, but
I'm sitting there in the second quarter and I'm watching him flinch after every mark and every possession, and I'm just sitting there thinking, what are you doing out there?
You did question if he should be played. We had a little discussion in the Bay, another heat of the moment discussion by us, Marnie, disagreeing in the Bay, about should he play and should he have been selected. Now, my stance on that was yes, because I feel like, how do I put it? The next two games, for me, are the two games we can win, and I just don't think we're winning the two after that. If we do, amazing, but Richmond and West Coast 2 weeks in a row, we need 2 from that. And if Charlie Comben can just get through those and we put him on ice for the rest of the year, that is my sort of thing. I think the club needs to prioritise these wins because if we didn't beat Richmond yesterday, it would have been absolute chaos.
Just horrible. Yeah,
we would have been rock bottom again. All our work since the bye, not all of it, but it was so much would have been undone.
No, I would say most of it would have been undone, to be honest.
And he's so much. I know Callan Dawson was there to be selected as well, but with Griffin Logue going out, I just don't think you could have rested him. I don't think next week as well, even if he's limping a little bit, I think he's still that good that you've just got to get him through, and then you've got a whole off season and last 2 weeks of the year to rehabilitate him ready for the next year. Other people probably have different views on that, and you know, I think you sort of feel that other way as well. But you know, I just think with the importance of these two games for the club, Charlie will be the first to be like, I'm playing. And you know that, and you would agree with that, obviously.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's like, you know, I just think you've got to get him through. Everyone's playing with injuries at this point of the year. Yes, he looked so sore, and he still was really solid back there. So props to Charlie for pushing through that entire game when it looked like he sort of hurt it a little bit early in the second maybe or something like that. I think you got to play him though.
The way his body has held up this year has been absolutely remarkable.
And credit to the coaching staff as well for putting him in that position for his body.
Yeah.
And it's been such a success. Like also that Irish bloke that delivered us bad news all last year. We've had a really good injury list this year. Like props to all the medical staff at North because
bill of health,
obviously except for the season enders at the start, which is nobody's fault. The soft tissue injuries haven't been popping up this year. Wardlaw hasn't been out with hamstrings and stuff. He's been out with concussions. But, you know, we've had such a clean bill of health this year and we've done really well on that front. So props to the medical team. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. Look, I don't disagree with you at all. And I do think that with Logue out, you really do need Comben and Core back there to sort of hold down the back line. It's more just me thinking about his injury history and his body is on the more fragile side. It's the same thing with George Wardlaw. Like it's being able to manage these guys for long-term purposes. But look, on the flip side, Charlie is very much a heart and soul player and he loves this club too dearly.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he's the first to put his body on the line and, you know, for the club and for the game and for his teammates. So I think, yes, it was probably important to play him and I don't disagree with you if we play him next week and then we put him on ice for the rest of the year or see how he kind of goes during the week. He was wincing a bit and I'm just thinking, he was limping around. Just really hard to watch. And look, he played out the game, so maybe that was the right decision in the end to play him. Mm-hmm. But had he been subbed off or, you know, benched for the game because he couldn't move, then then this discussion probably is more relevant. But I just don't think it's relevant now.
Yeah. He got through and looked okay at the end. Obviously, when you win, everything's fine. But I don't know. I agree with you. If he did do it, then it would. If he did pull his groin again and, you know, he had a massive injury setback, back, then it's a different conversation.
Especially because Callan Dawson had a really solid season, and he would be a good replacement if we need him to be. And also with Jackson Archer playing the way he played yesterday, we probably would have been able to cover anyway.
Especially with the Tigers forward line. Next week it's a different story though with Darling and Waterman and what's the blonde bloke's name? Oscar Allen. So you know, he needs to be there for that. Logue hopefully back in as well. So
that'd be nice.
We're going to go to another patch of voice messages because we're running longer than I thought, but there's so much North to talk about. This is going to be a long one, but stick through it. It's really, really good, even though I haven't recorded it yet. Anyway, more voice messages. We're going to come back and talk about more defenders. We've got the Steve-O redemption arc in the second half. It's going to be a big discussion. So we're going to come back with Jaden Stevenson's chat, which is, that's spicy. So voice messages. We'll see you very soon.
Bye.
Jared from Tassie here. Oh, nice to have a win. So glad you were there, Josh, with the helmet on. For Cherry, helmet cherry, helmet cherry. Oh, yes. And what a battle that was with the big Nank. Took some clunks around the ground. He's getting better. That's the good thing. He's got room to improve. He's pushing for that All-Australian. And now North own the skies. Duursma flies, Zerha flies, Comden flies. Keep the ball in the air, boys. We own the skies. Go Roos.
G'day Josh, g'day Marnie. North Melbourne, huge once again. Did Jaden Stevenson just play the most polarising two halves of football of all time? Anonymous in the first half and massive in the second. Props to him.
What are we joining? The goddamn chorus. What a win. Oh my God.
That was the first victory of B2 since 31st of May 2019. Surprisingly, that was against Richmond too.
Life is just so much better when you're winning games, isn't it? I am on an absolute high. Like, even though we didn't play our best footy by a long shot, it is still great to see that we can actually win games without playing our best. They really should just build a statue of Luke Davies-Uniacke outside of Marvel because he's an absolute superstar and we need to give him whatever he wants and he needs to sign the contract immediately.
beauty. Boys got the win for Elmac in the end. Chom was battered and bruised to the bitter end. Scott and Stevenson stood up where it mattered. Frickin' Sheasel, absolutely stellar. And Sherry is an All-Australian lock, and you dare not tell me otherwise. Go North!
Thank you again, everyone, for sending in those incredible voice memos that I haven't listened to yet, but I know they're amazing.
But I did, and they were amazing, and Marnie's going to love them.
I'm sure I will.
I love Marnie's midweek message, which is like, oh my God, the voice messages were so good. I'm like, yeah, they were. I listened to them 5 days ago, Marnie.
I'm like, yeah, thanks for letting me in on your little secret.
You've got the email password, Marnie. You can get in there. Anyway.
Steve-O redemption arc.
Steve-O redemption arc. What a contrast.
God, football is an incredible game sometimes. And there are some pretty amazing things that happen in football.
When Stevenson kicked that ball out of bounds on the full on the wing, it just summed up the whole game he'd had before. Just like everything we thought about him was coming true in that first half. Obviously kicked a goal after the siren at halftime, and that clearly was the moment that turned him and goes, how about I turn into a really good player?
Dylan Stephens goes off with an injury early in the third. And I think up until that point, you're probably looking at Jaden Stevenson going...
Or Toby Pink.
You're just probably looking, mate.
Yeah.
You're on ice here.
You might be the one to go.
Because we can shuffle the magnets. We can Eddie Ford pushed back. Paul Curtis, we could move one of them back.
You still got Tucker down there. You got McKercher. Yep.
Whatever we need to do.
Powell's back there.
Just wow.
It's such a funny one because when we were walking out of the game, I said to you, and this is going to sound negative, but I'm going to try and put a bow on it. I liked the redemption arc on Jaden Stevenson, but then next week, it's just, I think at the point of his career now, it's kind of like good on him for earning his spot next week. I'm pretty sure he'll get picked next week after the second half.
Oh, as he should.
But it's sort of just waiting for him to have another rubbish performance when he gets dropped. I don't know if this guy is ever going to, from where he's at now, I don't know if he's going to be able to ever solidify his spot in this team. But for that isolated game, really impressed with how he came back after what was honestly just such a bad first half.
And he wasn't great last week either.
No, he was not. So, this is the hard thing with Jaden Stevenson.
He's got the talent. He clearly has the talent. He was a top 10 draft pick. He won the
I know, but
Rising
that
Star.
was so long ago now. I just think he is what he is at this point. I do think if you chuck him in the forward pocket on, in Sydney or on the Brisbane Lions or something like that, he probably looks really good. But I just don't think other than that, he's really going to be able to have a consistent spot on a team. You know what I mean? I think his best spot in this team is going to be maybe wing, but, you've got Dylan Stevens, who I know maybe hasn't impressed heaps yet, but he's younger and has more potential, I think. McKercher is probably going to be the one to take that. Bailey Scott looked great. Eddie Ford goes on the wing. Then you got your Zerhas and your Duursmas and your, everyone else who plays in the forward line. I just don't know how he stays in this team long term. This is less of a discussion about his long term in the team and more about the game. So great second half, a really important goal at halftime, especially under so much pressure, the whole crowd staring at you. No one's moving or anything. It's just sirens gone, which we know is a hard thing from the Carlton game last night.
Unbelievable.
I had to get it in there.
Had to get that in there.
Good job, Jaden Stevenson, for kicking that goal, giving us a much more comfortable buffer. Because a goal in a game like that is worth probably 3 goals in another game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then to play really solid, have some big moments in the second half with composure, being able to have clean possession and stay as he's not a big guy, but stay as strong as he can in a contest is important. Because first half he's backing out of contest. He's seeing people, he jumps back and he doesn't want contact. And second half, I don't know what Clarko said to him, but he put his body on the line probably as much as I've seen Stevenson do it in his career, which still isn't a massive amount, but props to him.
I still think he did some nice things in the first half. They were just clearly overshadowed by some absolutely howlers.
Yeah, howlers.
One thing I do want to say, and I said this to you and the admins in the Bay, there was a lot. We all get frustrated with players.
Yes.
I get it, okay? I've said things under my breath. I've said things to you and, you turn to the person next to you and you say, oh, what the hell was that or whatever. I've seen clubs just absolutely boo their own players off the field. I've seen them trash talk their players. I've seen them hurl abuse consistently for quarters on end over the fence. There was a bit of that towards Jaden Stevenson.
There was a bit
in the first
flying around
half yesterday. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Yeah, we all get frustrated. Yeah, we all say some things spur of the moment, but the constant chatter and the constant trash talking, that's not what this club is about.
Yeah.
And you can demand more from your players and you can drive higher standards without resorting to just abusing them for 2 straight quarters.
Yeah, I think there's a line, definitely. And, whispering to your mate next to you or saying something like between your group is, if you say something bad about a player to somebody else and you're not spurting it out in front of everybody, I think it's okay. I do agree. Look, I fully believe fans should be able to boo and you pay your ticket. We've been through a lot. If your club performs awfully when they shouldn't, I don't disagree with booing, not individual players, but just when they walk off the ground. I think the fans need to have a voice and to be able to show that at the games. But there's a way to do it and there's a way to not. I think direct abuse at players.
But just relentlessly for 2 quarters. Like
yes.
I said, everyone, you do something bad. I've let it out. I was like, oh, what's he kicking out on the 4-4 or whatever, right? It happens, okay? And he makes stupid decisions. But to go into a game with, it almost seemed like there was the intent to just attack and it was relentless for 2 quarters.
Yeah.
It is just not, it's not acceptable and that is not spirit of the game sort of stuff. Getting caught up in the heat of the moment and getting caught up in the heat of the game and a bad decision. And I get it, okay? Because we're all like that. We're all passionate about it. But to go in there and sit there and what seemed to be this just constant target on his back, it's not on. And those same people are the people that were standing up cheering him at the end of the game. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think it's just you got to find the right ways to channel your anger. It's okay to be upset at the game. It's okay to express how you feel, but it's the way that you express it is 100%. The important thing. So, speaking of expressing how you feel, Marnie, you want to talk about Aiden Cole?
Always.
Now, I wish there was a point, and hear me out with this, Marnie. Don't react to this first sentence.
I'm not saying anything.
Sometimes in the Bay, I wish I didn't know Marnie Cohen, because if I was sitting at the back and heard this girl in the middle of the Bay going, I love you, Aiden Cole, all the time, I would have been like, who is that nuffy sitting down there? And who is the only person who's ever yelling that at the football? It's Marnie Cohen. Because I knew Marnie Cohen, I was like, that's so Marnie Cohen. But there's a point there I was like, I wish I didn't know her and just could see this chick from afar just like squealing about Aiden Core in the Bay telling you, I love you, Aiden.
I did get a few giggles.
You did
so
get a
thanks,
few.
guys,
You
for
did get a few
supporting me
giggles.
through that. Let me have this.
Sorry. You go.
Let me have my moment in the sun.
I'm so sorry. Go on. Oh, no. This is the stuff you've got to be on YouTube for, guys. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so please go to YouTube and subscribe because Marnie's face and my face just then is worth the price of subscription, which is free. Anyway, please go, Marnie. People are listening to this.
There's been times on this show where you've questioned Aiden Core.
And rightly so.
Rightly so, sure. I have too, okay?
Yes,
Yes, I have too. As a leader.
Yep.
And as being part of the leadership group. Yesterday for me just showed why he's in the leadership group.
Yes.
Aiden Core does some silly things. Lots of players do lots of silly things. He's not perfect. Yeah. He is perfect, but he's not perfect.
The other funny thing, side note, is I spelt Aiden Core wrong. And it was just I put an E instead of an A in Aiden at the end, not the start, obviously.
Yeah.
And Marnie lost it. She lost her mind.
Every time.
That's not his name. I'm like, it's a very easy mistake to make.
No, it's really not. You should know how to spell his name. Anyway.
Please.
Anyway.
Rubbish.
Aiden Core steps up in big moments.
Yes, I will agree with you with this. In the last quarter, he was very, very solid.
The amount of guys.
Yes. I've given Aiden Core so much props on this podcast. I'm just in so deep in the Aiden Core is bad train from like a year ago that
You're finding it hard to let go.
No, I've done so much Aiden Core praise since the bye. I think I deserve to have this off my back. No one calls me the Jerry hater anymore because I am the king of the helmet. You know what I mean?
No, you are.
You know, I was leader of the pack in that day. 100%. Aiden, look, I'm not coming around on Aiden Core like I think he's incredible, and he's really solid, and I think he's such an important key in that back line. He played really, really well yesterday and took so many important intercept marks when the Tigers were pushing.
The last quarter, there was
his
that
last quarter was brilliant.
Spoil,
yeah.
Late in the last quarter, and there's just with Aiden Core, there's moments where you can understand. Like only a leader is going to do that. It's the same thing with Simpkin, right? And Charlie Comben, incredible defender. Jackson Archer, incredible defender. Colton McKercher, the work he does, Fisher when he's in the side. But Aiden Core's got this edge to him, and I think he rises when the situation kind of demands of him in the game. He is white line fever kind of guy.
I'll agree with that. He did something when he spoiled it in the up on the wing or something like that, and then he got up and just walked straight to the guy in front of him for no reason and just laid into him and then walked away. And it was great. I love seeing that stuff.
And sometimes he does take it too far and he gives away silly free kicks, and I'm not defending him with that because that's silly.
Yes, it is.
Right? But you need guys who, when they cross that line and step out onto the field, it's an all or nothing sort of thing. And he's someone that just doesn't leave. He leaves everything out on the field week in, week out. And in big moments, in games, more often than not, he's stepping up. I mean, that West Coast game.
I agree.
That West Coast game in the last 5 minutes, some of the things he did, phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think his body work in the marking contest when the ball got booted out, for him to regain us possession that many times was fantastic. I think he was okay the first half. I mean, look, no one in that back line was great in the first half.
I think everyone in the first half, they were just sort of weathering the storm.
Yeah, I don't think it's not. I'm not saying Aiden Core was bad at all, but I think no one in the back line really stood out.
No, I agree.
He was the one that sort of him. Obviously, Jackson Archer aside, because he was fantastic in that first quarter, the whole game. He was there. He was doing his job. He was fine. That last quarter was the quarter I went, he's really been crucial in making sure the Tigers don't, because they had momentum for some of that fourth as well.
And he moved on to Dusty in the second half, and Dusty barely let out a peep.
Dusty, I don't know if he was on the ground or not. I think Toby Pink did more than Dustin Martin in that game.
That's saying something, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to,
really good.
Everyone's sick of me talking about how much I love him and how good I think he was, but I think that is something that we haven't spoken about with him before, but we've, in isolation. And I think yesterday, once again, for me, just proved that that's a leader.
Yeah, I mean, look,
a leader doesn't necessarily have to do it across 4 quarters, week in, week out.
Yeah.
For him to be able to step up in big moments consistently, week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those ones where we're not saying I wish Aiden Corr didn't play this way. I mean, he's in the 22 every week, and there's no question about that at the moment. So good on him. Good on him. Aiden Corr is good.
Put that on a t-shirt, guys. Aiden Corr is good.
Aiden Corr is good.
Josh Neal, 2024.
Yes, until he's not again. But it's fine. I think if he does this for the rest of the time he's at North, he's going to be a good player.
Do you know who else is a really good player?
Tristan Sherry is a really good player.
I was going to say Colby McCurch.
Oh, damn. I thought we were going on to... Yeah, let's talk about him.
Colby.
I forgot about Colby.
You forgot about
no,
Colby.
I didn't, but I sort of think he's a midfielder sometimes.
That first half, he was by far the best player on the ground.
21 touches in the first half,
Freak.
ended with 31, so it was quite a second half. 9 rebound 50s.
He did what he needed to do in that first half, and he definitely was a big part of how we were able to...
Yeah. It's the composure, though.
The storm.
And he had that holding the ball, like he was almost too cool at the start of the game and got holding the ball for their first goal, I think it was. But after that, his awareness picked up, and, you know, him running with the ball is such a beautiful sight. Like, if I could just get, you know, those 10-hour YouTube compilations? It's just 10 hours of Colby McCurch running would be fantastic to watch.
If anyone wants to make that for Josh,
yes, please.
to watch over the off-season, send it
I can
our
put
way.
it on when I go to sleep at night, like white noise or something like that.
Beautiful.
That would be fantastic. He is so good, Colby McCurch.
And he's going to be such an integral part of this club moving forward, I think, too.
He is so underrated in this rising star. He's been as a package, he's been better. He's probably been the best first-year player, I reckon, for consistency over the whole year.
He's just missed a bit of footy.
He just missed a bit of footy. If he didn't miss those weeks, I think he's above Harley Reid. I think Harley Reid's moments have been phenomenal, but I think Harley Reid's been a little bit inconsistent. His good games are like he's played in the league for 10 years, but there's other games where you're like, yeah, he's a first-year player.
Yeah.
Colby has had no recognition for averaging, I don't know what he averages, I'm sure it's like high 20s, but I feel like he's got 30 plus every week he's played, and in such a shaky back line coming in first year.
It's giving Sheasel 2023.
I know. I just think he deserves so much more praise in this rising star race, and he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. But we've got a gun on our hands here.
Yeah, we definitely do.
A very, very underrated gun.
No, I agree with you. His run, I mean, it's
unmatched. I mean, and he always hits a target too. I mean, he had a couple of moments in the game, but everyone does. So did Sheasel, but... You know, he 90% of the time he hits the target, and he'll find things that other players who have played longer than him couldn't even see on a football field.
And obviously Zach Fisher didn't play yesterday, and I don't know if we'll see Zach Fisher also for the rest of the year. He's got plantar fasciitis, so whether they just, again, put him on ice for the last three games or not. I can't wait to see the two of them.
If they can ever get a combination of half back, like both of them play long term in this team. I mean,
I agree with you.
Zach Fisher's almost got a bit of that Luke McDonald mentality about him, where people just seem to, even though he's been really good for the majority.
He had a really shaky start to the year.
He did, but our whole team did. So did people hate the team now? No, you know what I mean. So it's like,
what you mean.
And I know you agree with this.
Well, it
but
was the expectation, I think, going into the year with Fish. It was a big re-signing. He was the big fish coming from Carlton, wants more opportunity.
The big fish, like what you did there.
Thanks. He and
wink at me.
he and Kirch as a 1-2 punch up the back line. That's a pretty dynamic duo, I would say. So I'm looking forward to seeing the two of them. Probably, I don't know if it'll be again this season, but definitely next year.
If a lot of these players work out, like say a Stevens does turn up on the wing, or we have to move someone else to wing, like an Eddie Ford, or say Steve-O rocks up and all of a sudden he's a gun, you know. Halfback McCurcher for the rest of his career would be a fantastic thing. But then, you know, maybe try Zach Fisher forward. You know, like Darcy Tucker's played really solid off the halfback line as well. You know, you've got Archers or you got Hardemans and stuff. I reckon we should give Zach Fisher a go in the forward pocket. We need that small forward. I know maybe he's not going to bring heaps of the pressure, but I don't really care about a small forward with pressure at the moment. I just want a small forward who can kick a goal.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe he can bring some... Look, I'm throwing out stuff for next season. Anyway, Colby McCurch is really good. I love you, Colby.
Okay, now
Tasmanian kids are really good at football.
Now you can talk about Tristan Cherry.
Yes, please.
All Australian ruckman, Tristan Cherry. It's got to be a lock at this point. I don't think anyone's catching him. With Gawn sidelined, Sydney's form's gone sort of a bit AWOL in the last month, and therefore I don't know if Grundy will be looked at the same way.
They'll put Grundy or Gawn ahead of... They shouldn't, but they will.
They cannot put Gawn ahead of Sherry in the side.
Look at all the Fox Footy rolling all Australian squads. It's all gone. It's gone. I agree.
At the end
Sherry's
of this
been better than
weekend,
Gawn.
Sherry should be in that all Australian squad.
But we
or
know
the
how
side, I should say.
Ben Brown should have had probably 3 All-Australians
They
that
always
Tom
looked
Hawkins robbed from him.
Yeah,
Tom
this
Hawkins
is-
was part of a better team, yes, but Ben Brown would kick 10 to 15 more goals a year than Tom Hawkins consistently and still wouldn't get in. And I have a couple of Geelong mates, unfortunately. No, I love you guys. And they'd always be like, oh, but he gets more goal assists. Well, that's not his job.
Since when does anyone care about goal assists?
Tom Hawkins
for a
getting
key
goal
forward?
assists. Oh, my God. Ben Brown and Cunnington got robbed of them. Goldie got robbed of them. Robbie Tarrant got robbed of them. They were guns, right? They didn't get in because there was players on better teams who weren't playing as well as them. Sherry, sorry, I'm trying my best to change how I say it. Sherry should absolutely be All-Australian, but he will not be because he has blue and white stripes on his jumper. And that is the most
disagree.
disappointing thing.
I disagree. I think
He'll be in the 40.
All-Australian.
And just to make it incredibly clear, I'm saying he should be, 100% should be in the 22 for the All-Australian.
I think he will.
But I just don't think they will because Gawn's a bigger name or Sydney are on top of the ladder. I know Sydney have been bad, but they're still on top of the ladder. So.
No, he will play. He will make All-Australian. After yesterday, again, Nankervis is not... He's a really solid ruckman. He has been for a really long time for Richmond. And I think that Sherry once again had the better of him. And
I think Nankervis early was better though. I think
Sherry's game was better.
His overall game was better. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like at the start of the game, we got nothing out of that midfield. And I was like, I thought Nankervis, it's a very old school ruck battle. Clarkson talked about it in his press conference.
Definitely.
2 just big lads going at it, hitting each other hard.
Yeah.
I think for the first quarter and a half until our whole team sort of turned it on a bit, I think Nankervis got the better of him. And then he warmed in the game really well. I think he was better overall
Well, that was
on the
probably
day.
just symbolic of the side and the way
Absolutely.
that the game, progressed.
Absolutely. But his marking around the ground, man, is so... This is the thing I called him out for so many times. And it was so... He was averaging less than a mark a game. He was averaging like 0.6 contested marks a game or something like that for a 200 centimetre guy. And he'll get 2 or 3 of them consistently now every single week, or at least taking marks in very crucial areas. So, the turnaround on Tristan has been phenomenal. He's got to be one of my favourite players now. And like obviously I took a photo with Glenn Arch yesterday and I was still wearing the helmet. That's how much.
I caught up with Josh after the game and we went shopping. And Josh was walking around DFO with the helmet on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did take it off eventually.
Yeah.
I did sub the cap back on, but yeah, I did keep the helmet on a lot long. I was walking around after the game and people were like, why have you still got the helmet on? I said, because I'm still passionate. My love for this club doesn't stop when I leave Marvel.
Your love for this guy doesn't stop when we leave Marvel, which is awesome.
So yeah, look, I think a good job from him. I mean, I don't think he won it around the ground. I think ruck battle just in the ruck. I don't think he maybe won the ruck battle, but around the ground he was a much superior ruckman. Presented in the forward line, didn't kick the goal, but took a mark. Around the ground was a lot better. And even his hands are clean enough for a guy like that. So, I don't think he dominated Nankervis, but I think he got the better of him eventually. But look, I agree. It was a really good game from him. He was a big reason why our midfield got back on top. I mean, that tap, I know Nankervis got a slight touch on it, but, Sherry tapped it back to LDU and Zerha as well, those taps he got out of the ruck. So,
It's
look.
the connection between our midfielders and Sherry now.
When Sherry tapped it to Zerha and he kicked the goal, I was like, is this 2021? Oh my God. It's almost like Goldie down to Zerha to win the game against Richmond, nearly in the same spot. But no, he was great again. I agree. Should be All-Australian. I just don't think they see North like that, whoever votes. But I think he absolutely should be. So.
I think he should be. I think he will at this point now with the injuries to the injury to Gawn, I should say. And,
was he still in? Like, he's been playing the last few weeks though, Gawn.
He did miss some footy though.
I know. Yeah, he did.
So I don't know.
Look, I'm agreeing with you. I just know how they go.
I think Sherry's season as a whole has been good enough that he should be in the All-Australian side.
Okay.
And I think what he's doing at a lesser club like North.
Yeah,
is
I
why
100%. 100%.
Anyway.
The other thing I had here just for the overall game is the kick mark game again.
Yep.
Kicks 239 to 177. We absolutely dominated the kicking stats, and the marks 128 to 67.
Yeah.
13 marks inside 50 and 13 contested marks for us for the game. I just want really quickly before we go to Sean Aid Club Champ and the golden helmet. We know what the golden helmet moment is though. How are you finding this kick mark game, which is such a change up from North?
Well, we're able to control the game more and we're able to play it more on our terms.
It brings our ball users into the game so much more.
It does. And then we unleash the North ball when we need to. North ball's not dead. It's just being able to adapt it when we need. But I think for a club like North, where we have obviously lost more games than we've won over the
have we?
this
Doesn't
season,
feel like it last few
and
weeks.
over the past, over the past
5
few
years.
seasons. For us to be able to actually just get our hands on the footy and control it a little bit, I think is really important for us. And I think
Clarkson deserves a lot more praise too. Like everyone's happy to, not us fans, but I'm talking media and you know, fans who aren't North fans, very happy to criticise this man when we're not doing too well. But look at the form after the bye. I haven't heard one thing about Clarkson turning this thing around. It's all been about LDU, and it should be, and Sheasels and that sort of stuff. But there's one man who's making this strategy, the kick mark game, and who moved Sheasel into that mid forward role, and who's, you know, stuck with Tristan and getting that ruck combination. Alistair Clarkson's doing such a good job, and I just hate the disrespect for one of the greatest, arguably the greatest coach the game's seen.
It's just frustrating as well because the talk leading into the bye is, will North be the first side to have a winless season?
Yeah. And when and we
couldn't be further. We probably won't finish on the bottom.
No, we won't finish on the
bottom.
And
we might finish 16th.
Yeah, well, I reckon we jump West Coast next week.
So it's annoying. And yes, full credit to Clarko, and it's frustrating that he can't come down on the boundary line, because I think in a game like yesterday, you know, thinking back to that video you spoke about, Nick Larkey and Cam Zerha, when the boys came in late.
Yeah, I loved it.
The way Clarko gets around and the way
what are you guys doing late here? He's so good.
The way he buys into it is so good.
He is the number one reason why this club's culture has turned around, and he's the number one reason why we've had so many re-signings. Zerha was gone if Clarkson didn't come in that season. After everyone,
at the end of 2022.
End of 100%, that David Noble sort of stuff. Like, Zerha was gone. He got him to sign, and he got him to sign again. Nick Larkey comes off an All-Australian season. If Alistair Clarkson wasn't there, look at all these young guys. They've all bought in. Look at all these really talented players we could reel off right now, 9 of them, that have all re-signed. We've won 3 games, mate. That's not a good season. Yeah. But he's got these guys to buy in, and he's got a direction, and everyone knows where we're going.
If this season, if we start 2025 the way we've started post-bye, we could be in for a big year next year.
Potentially. Look, I think.
And we don't want to look too much.
First thing is to get out of the bottom 4.
Of
so,
course.
you know, it's one step at a time. I can still probably see us bottom 4 next year, but once again, 6 to 8 wins is probably where I'm going to be at next season still. As much as our form has been great, it also was last season at the end, and we didn't bring that into this year. I'm a believer, but I need to see it first. I know other people are a bit more of a dreamer than me. But look, we're going like this.
It's an upward trajectory.
Which is an upward trajectory right now.
Progress isn't linear, so.
Absolutely. But yeah, shout out to Clarkson, because, you know, it's the double standard as well, we know. You know, Clarkson swears to nobody down on the boundary line, and one person in the entire stadium hears it, and he gets sent to the coach's box and nearly ridiculed beyond belief. But Damien Hardwick drops the most clear F-bomb on live television, and people go, oh, silly dimmer. He's so silly.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculous. I can't stand Damien Hardwick. I'm so glad that rubbish club is just absolutely tanking any expectation they had.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I'm a tipping god, Marnie, but when everyone was tipping them in the finals this year, I said they're going to finish 13th, 14th, and I'm right. What a surprise. Even though I get a lot of other things wrong.
Let's move on before you get too passionate.
Screw the Gold Coast. Anyway,
topic.
it was a nice place to visit though for my holiday. Sean Elliott Club champ. So I think we agree that the 3 players we're going to put in the barrel are Archer, LDU, Larkey.
Correct.
Very stiff for Bailey Scotts and Tristan and other guys like that, but I think they're the 3.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to channel my inner what the Sean Elliott Club champ is about, and I want to go Archer, LDU, Larkey. Now, I also understand that LDU's game was phenomenal. I just don't think we're in that game without Archer in that first quarter, and Sean Elliott Club champ isn't just about the best player on the ground. It's about the influence you have on the game and in moments and the heart and soul stuff. And I just think he epitomised what we do and how that he was good from start to finish. And if he wasn't intercepting and defending like he was in that first quarter, we probably go in 4 or 5 goals down. So that's my case. But what do you think?
So I don't disagree with the contribution that Arch had. I've gone LDU, Arch, Larkey. And I think the reason being is that LDU with 3 goals.
I know. And
that's taking his game from excellent to like elite.
Yeah, I know.
And that's almost the best game we've ever seen him play.
I'm going to be honest with you, Marnie. I actually do agree with you, but my heart wants it's Archer.
Do you want to throw it to the people?
No, of course I would love to. I think if I'm going to take my bias hat off, and not bias, he was bloody phenomenal.
Was unbelievable.
I think it is LDU deserves the 3, but
I
I just think he was so important in that first quarter. I reckon we go down 4 goals minimum down at quarter time if he wasn't there. I'll concede, and I guess we'll go LDU 3, Archer 2, Larky 1. But
I think it's the right call, but I don't disagree with what you've said and the way that you're looking at it. I just think that LDU's 3 goals, it's the one thing missing from his game, and we saw it yesterday for the first time, and hopefully it's the first of many for him.
All right. I'm not happy about it, but
we'll just do what I want as per.
What a surprise.
Golden helmet?
Golden helmet.
Air Zane?
Toby Pink's. Oh, okay. Yeah, Air Zane. Okay, yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Toby Pink's mark and point he kicked. Yes, it is Air Zane. I was going to try and throw something out and you'd be like, what? Yeah, but yeah, that was
You
fun.
still got the reaction.
Yeah, I got the reaction I wanted. Yeah. It's Air Duursma for sure.
It's Mark of the Year.
It has to be.
Mark of the Year.
Other contentions are LDU's second goal with the ruck tap running in Chris Judd like.
And the King of Marvel.
And the King of Marvel.
His goal and raw.
They're the silver and bronze helmet of the game. But,
shout out Toby Pink for that.
But shout out Toby Pink for that one moment. Yeah, I think it has to. There's no question. There's no question. It was phenomenal, and I will be watching that on repeat for the next decade.
Beautiful. Hopefully more of those live for North as well in years to come from Mr. Duursma.
This has been the longest podcast ever.
It's been awesome.
If you've seriously, I know some people complain about a longer podcast. This is as short as we could possibly have done.
We
this.
don't win games often, so we're just going to milk it.
Yeah,
and we
milk
also
it.
haven't seen each other for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, listen to this throughout the week, guys. Come on,
Just break it up.
Break it up.
We break it up in 3 parts. You guys can break it up in 3 parts.
You don't have to
too.
drive 20 kilometers an hour to work to make it an hour and a half long to listen to this whole podcast. You can listen to it in 2 sections.
If you're
it's
in
fine.
Melbourne traffic probably makes you sit there for an hour and a half.
That is true. Go down
on your
Warrigal
commute
Road
anyway.
or something down in the east, and then you'll take that long to get anywhere you need to go. So, thank you for listening. If you've listened to the whole thing, we promise we try to keep them short, but there's only so much you can do when North's this big. So, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to everyone for the helmet bay. It was just such a good time, and yeah. What a success. It was, I don't know. I thought of it in my bedroom one day. The Close Little Flag boys got behind it. We made things happen.
It was awesome.
A brand got involved. The club got involved. It was just so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. So there's more content from that coming. I've got some photos and things to post. What a good day. Go North. We're massive. And finals. Yeah.
Flaggers.
Flaggers.
If you want to stay up to date with all of the Tristan Sherry stuff and more during the week, you can find us on socials. We are Further North Pod across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Hi, YouTube, if you are watching.
Hello.
We will be back with a podcast favourite.
Oh.
For this preview pod this week.
We've wheeled him out. Big Ant. I've actually got a photo of Big Ant wearing the Tristan Sherry helmet.
Do you actually?
I do. I'll show you after the
Okay,
podcast.
great.
It'll be in the thumbnail. He's not going to know that, but it'll be in the thumbnail. Big Ant is back. Another massive North West Coast game.
To preview all things Northwest Coast. They're becoming a bit of a staple here, our previews with Big Ant. I love Big Ant.
Big Ant is a nice man. He seems
the
very
best.
abrasive.
No, he's actually the best. He's such a good guy.
He is a nice
Will you
man.
give him a hug from me when you see him next week?
If he lets me, yeah.
Big Ant, if you're listening.
I'll say, Big Ant, close your eyes, pretend it's Marnie, and I'm going to give you a hug. That's dangerous. Anyway, let's go before I say something I shouldn't.
Thank you guys
thank
so
you.
much. We'll be back later in the week before the West Coast game.
Have fun. Go Roos. We timed it. That was nice.
Great.
That was nice.